The views, thoughts, and opinions expressed in this podcast are the content creator's own and do not represent the views, thoughts, and opinions of Essex County College. The material and information presented here is for entertainment and informative purposes only. It should not be considered as professional advice or a substitute for seeking professional guidance.
What is up, everyone? It's your girl Jaesbuggin, and I am back with another episode of What You Working With? So, I know that I have been gone, and I apologize for my absence, but I am making a comeback, and I am here to stay. So, What You Working With is about to be back on the map. You feel me? Okay, so I would like to call our guest. We're doing something different today on What You Working With, and we will have a dial-in guest speaker. Her name's Ashley, by the way. So make sure when she joins the call, you guys say, "Hey, Ashley." No, I'm just playing with y'all. But we're gonna call our guest, and we're gonna speak to her about what she does, and we're gonna find out what she's working with. So, without further ado, let's call Ashley Boo. Okay, then.
Hello.
Hey, what is up, Ashley? You are now live on What You Working With.
Hey.
How
Hi.
are you today? How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm doing okay. So, how do you feel about being on What You Working With live via phone call?
I feel excited. I'm happy to be your first live phone call guest. So yeah, I feel good about it.
Okay, yes, me too. I'm a little nervous, but that's okay because this is my first time. So, all right.
Don't be.
Okay, I'm not. All right, so we're gonna get right into it. So I want to ask you, what do you do for a living?
So I'm an HR director.
Okay.
And yeah, I'm an HR director. I've done it with several companies. Right now, I'm in the tech field. Prior to that, I worked with nonprofit organizations like mental health and healthcare companies. And then I also work for an environmental company.
Okay, that sounds pretty lit. Now, let me ask you, what exactly is a HR director? Can you tell me the full name? I just want to let my guests out there know what exactly this is, what they might want to get into.
Okay, yeah, I'm so used to saying it for short. So human resources.
Okay.
Yeah, so human resources director. So a lot of you guys who have jobs, HR by the person that hires and fires, but we do a whole lot of other stuff. So we're usually the first point of contact with anybody who is looking to join any company. You might put an application in, the recruiter that calls you, that person is in the HR department, they're human resources. The person who goes over your new paperwork with you, that's human resources. The person who does your benefits, that's human resources. The person who may have to talk to you if you get written up, that's human resources.
Oh, okay. All right. So that sounds really interesting. I always heard of, oh, yeah, I got to talk to HR. And, HR was doing this, that, and the third. But I honestly didn't really know exactly what HR is. So thank you for that clarification, because now we about to get into it for real. So I want to first ask you, in order to have this job, do you have a degree, or is this a non-degree job? How do you basically obtain this job, as far as what are the requirements?
Mm-hmm. So honestly, people can get into HR without a job. Without a background in HR. As far as when you're trying to get into it entry level, it's best to have a 4-year degree, because for the most part they'll ask that you have a bachelor's degree.
Mm-hmm.
But there are some people who literally came into HR from being an administrative assistant, and then they were given the opportunity to do entry level HR stuff, and then you're able to work their way through the ranks. So for me, I didn't go to school for human resources.
Wow.
I had no desire for it. That is not the job path I was on. when I went to college, I was a chemistry major.
Okay.
And after my freshman year, I switched my major to psychology.
Okay.
And so my intention was to become a school psychologist, but you have to get a master's degree for that. And so after I graduated, my first job was like, I was kind of doing like social work for kids with a program called Head Start. And after my first year, they had budget cuts and they had to like let go of the last people that were hired.
Yeah.
And so I got cut. And so I'm devastated. And I'm like, well, I don't want to do that anymore.
Right.
And so I went to a career fair in Morgan State. And I had done what some of you guys might be familiar with, or, you know, especially if any of the listeners are in college, you might when you take psychology, they may talk about the Myers-Briggs personality test. And so when I took that, my personality said, you know, it lists kind of careers that will be good for you. And one of mine was human resources.
Ooh, so those actually work? They really work?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I swear by them. I literally love Myers-Briggs for so many different reasons. And it also tells you just how to work and collaborate with other people. And even with my staff, I use it so that I understand like what motivates them.
Where they're coming from. Okay.
Exactly.
Well, I'm going to need that link because we need to put them on. I need to put myself on too, you know.
Yeah. So I'll share that for sure. And
so
my Myers-Briggs said I would do good with human resources.
Okay.
So when I went to the career fair, I was like, okay, I'm looking to get in HR. So that was like my focus as I worked around through the fair. And I stumbled upon the staffing company, Aerotech. And so a staffing company, basically, they are people who companies hire to find them their new employees. So, and that is a whole HR function as a whole. Like that's a whole industry that's kind of based in HR.
Everything.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So they're like,
all right.
You need a receptionist, we got you. You need
anything.
A forklift driver, we got you. So like that's what a staffing company does.
Okay.
And so I worked internally for the staffing company. So like all of those new people, all the various companies, all of the things, I was doing new hire paperwork with them and you know, going over their employment contracts, entering them into the system that
and you spoke to these, like, the new hires, you spoke to them directly or?
Right. So there would be like, there would be like a recruiter that actually like recruited them like, oh, you know, this person, and they would submit them to the different clients and then the client would decide to hire them. So then once they got hired, I'm the person they would come see, and we would do like all of the paperwork where like, you know, if you start at Starbucks, they're like, we need your 2 forms of ID and you got to fill out all of these papers.
Oh, so you running the background check?
Yeah, running the background check, sending them for the drug test, waiting for the results to come, and then telling them, oh, they're clear to hire. So that means, okay, we can hire them now, and move forward with all the rest of the stuff. And now they can go start at the job. And then on the back end, once you guys do all that paperwork, we have to enter it into what's called an HRIS system. And that's pretty much the system that gets you paid. So where you go to check your pay stubs, all your personal information is in that system, and that's how we pay you. So I was responsible for that, and I was responsible for payroll. So that was like my first HR job.
Wow. Now that sounds like a hefty thing. It's like everybody's lives is in your hands, literally.
Yeah. And then when people's paychecks.
Yeah, they paychecks, all of that. Like, that's what I'm saying. They life in your hands because they need that money. Don't play with them. So to me, it sounds like you were more so like a middleman for basically HR. To sum it up, it's a middleman for, like, I guess businesses and the people who work for the businesses as well, correct? Like employer to employee type of thing. Like, you're right in the middle.
So in that staffing company, that whole company function was a middleman. But in a traditional role, like anywhere else that I've worked in HR, HR sits inside of any regular company, and we do those same functions, but for one company specifically. So, like, for instance, I worked for a mental health nonprofit, and so my job was, I was the recruiter, I was the person that did the new hire paperwork, I was the person that did new hire orientation, I was the person that went over your benefits packet with you, I'm the person who would give you your new offer letter if you got a raise.
No.
Still ran the drug and background at that company because they work with kids. I had to fingerprint people, so I had to like roll their finger on a machine. So like, based on what industry you're working with will depend, make some of the HR jobs like vary.
Different.
And
okay.
And then if you work for like big companies like say a Starbucks or
McDonald's,
any place. McDonald's, whatever, they're going to have like regional HR departments. Like it's not just going to be like this one HR department in this one building. So then there's all these different parts of HR that you could be a part of. And when you work for a small company, maybe only 3 or 4 people do that role. So like, but in bigger companies, because there's so many people,
they have more
they
HR.
actually split. Every part of HR can be its own job. So like in one of my companies I worked for, I was the benefits manager. So all I did was employee benefits, because when you have 800 employees, you need one person just to focus on one thing for people. And then like they had what's called talent acquisition. So those are the recruiters. All they work on is finding the people and filling the open positions for the company. Then you have the onboarding specialist. So then that's the person who does the new hire paperwork with the person and like manages like any employee data changes. And then there's someone who's called like the HRIS analyst. So that person literally deals with the system that we use to pay you, because that system also can give us reports like who's getting too much overtime. Like who's getting paid this. And then we will look at the information where we could say, okay, well, we got all of these baristas in the New Jersey area, and some of them are making $12 an hour, and some of them are making $19 an hour. Like we have a pay discrepancy.
That's
going
crazy.
On here.
So then you guys will try to fix it, right?
So so we're trying to fix it. We're trying to figure out, well, what's the difference? Is it the education level? Is it the experience level? Do we need to make an adjustment to the pay rate because it's not fair? Do we got to bring the other people up to, that pay rate and stuff like that? So HR does examines a lot of different things. And then we also deal with and the perks, the things that make,
the job, make people want to go there. So let me ask you this. So so when you was talking about the pay rate and stuff like that, does HR only work like you guys see the problem and fix it, or do some employees like, oh, I'm going to contact HR, like do they do that as well, or it depends on different companies as well?
Yeah, it all depends on like different variables contribute to like those type of situations. So like HR, some companies will hire HR in to do something that's called like a compensation analysis, and that's just to see if like, are we paying our employees at a competitive rate? And okay, what are our competitors paying their people? Does it match? Do we want to offer more than them so that we we have the advantage? People want to work for us. Like if you're breaking it down to McDonald's and Burger King, and if their starting pay rate is 17, okay, and we want to be competitive, okay, then we're going to offer 18. Come work for us.
Right, exactly. Okay, all right.
So that's stuff like that.
That makes sense.
And so HR kind of helps with those things and makes those recommendations to, the VPs and the CEOs of the companies.
All right, that's I like that gist of everything. So so can you tell me, how has this career that you are in, how has it helped you as a person? Because I know that you was talking about how I forgot what it's not an exam, but basically like the test that you took, I see that it helped you to, figure out what you want to do, but also help you work with others. But what else has this like career basically helped you personally? How has it shaped you as a person?
I think it's taught me a lot of patience. It's helped me understand that in situations you have to deal with facts over feelings. because, the dark side of HR that, everybody on TikTok is going to tell you, don't trust HR, therefore the company and whatever. And like, yes, that is my job. The same way y'all have a job in the company.
Right, exactly.
My job is to protect the company, make sure the company isn't violating people's rights, but also making sure that we're fair to employees and making sure that this is a place they want to work in and where,
place,
and where they feel safe. And so what I've learned, in this role is that, one, you want to deal with facts over feelings. It's taught me a lot of compassion, especially when I was a benefits manager, because, those situations can get really heavy because you have people who are sick. You could be dealing with someone who has cancer and you're managing their leave of absence, or,
I get what
someone
you're
could
saying.
be on their someone could be on their deathbed and you're helping, their spouse, deal with their benefits and their life insurance. So like, it definitely teaches you compassion. It taught me to be a strategic thinker. So I'm kind of fast on my feet now. Like when like emergencies happen or when really sad things happen, I know how to jump into action and just handle
Get right
it.
to it, hands on.
Get right to it and be like solution oriented. It challenged me to be that way because I think in general, people, we just like to go to our supervisor and be like, I have this problem.
Yeah,
and you want them to solve it.
But you the problem solver now.
Yeah, exactly. And I learned in general, just in work, and I'll tell anybody this, managers want their workers to work. And like, I hate to say it this way, but like, managers don't care about your personal problems.
Yeah, they
want to hear solutions. They want to hear solutions. You have to show why you're efficient to this company.
Right.
So you have to, think about when you're coming with a problem, already have a solution in mind. Even if it's a bad one, it's appreciated that you even gave it some thought.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense because they just it's your job, but at the same time, like everyone would be affected by like the decisions that you make, not you per se, but like just the employee. So I like that, the managers want you to come up with something, just to make sure that you on your toes too. You thinking like this, that, and the third, just in case something does go wrong. When you do go to HR, you like, okay, well, I have this or this, that, and the third. Like everything will go by a little bit more smoothly than if it was just, on a whim, like, oh, well, that's what y'all need to figure out,
Exactly.
Okay, so do you, would you recommend this, like, what type of person would you recommend this job to? What type of personality do you think that they would need to have in order to be fit for this job?
Whew, okay, so, I mean, definitely someone who's organized, someone who has a high moral and ethical compass, because you have to make a lot of decisions when you're dealing with like employee relations, like when you're dealing with two employees who got into it or somebody reports some bad behavior by another employee. You have to be able to, again, look at the facts and
over the feelings.
Over the feelings. You have to be able to do an investigation and not be biased, because you may have a little more of a rapport with another employee.
Right.
And
it's just human nature, but at the same time.
Yep. You have to be able to remain neutral. And so that's part of the one of the hardest parts of HR. So like, if you want to get in this field, it's a great way to level up through the years quickly and to earn a lot of money once you become, director and VP level. However, being in HR, I tell people all the time who are interested in it, or I tell entry level people as they're getting promoted up, once you become a manager or a director, you have to be very careful, because HR is a lonely island, and people in the company will try to befriend you so that they can get the inside scoop, because we deal with all confidential information.
Oh, okay. So they just like, oh, well, I'm gonna keep this person.
Yeah, I'm gonna
keep
can I bring you coffee? Oh, what are you doing? Or they come sit in your office and they're talking, or they're trying to look at your desk.
They want to hear the tea
on your desk. Yeah, people come to you looking for the tea, and they'll pretend to be your friend.
But
and
they just want to know, nosy.
Exactly. So sometimes people learn that lesson the hard way, and sometimes you can lose your job that way. So you have to be very, very careful in that role. We're almost like the work lawyers.
Yeah,
so like we
basically.
have to be. Yeah, so we have to be very, very careful. So you really only get to talk and have a rapport with the people that are in your department. And if you work for a small company, you might be the only HR person.
Right, exactly.
So you don't have a friend. You have to be distant. No, I can't go to happy hour with y'all after work.
No,
like I can't, because y'all not gonna say y'all got.
Oh yeah, so what's the tea? Oh, and I heard such and such. They was telling me how bing bang boom. Yeah, we don't need that. We don't need that on our company.
Oh yeah, employees love to ask me to happy hour all the time.
Now that sounds. That sounds like a bit much, but you holding your own pretty well. I'm hearing that you like, nah, I'm gonna stay right where I'm at because y'all ain't gonna catch me today.
Y'all have a good night.
Right. So what can you tell me about a time that felt most rewarding for being in HR, which like you helped someone or you helped an employee or a boss, or just tell me about a time where it just felt rewarding, like, you know what, I think I could get jiggy with this job, you know?
I would say I have two examples. So one was more like on the benefits administration side, which I've always said I like because in that part of HR, you're like the good guy. Like you don't have to deal with any of like the bad, tough decisions really. Yeah. So people tend to like you when you work in benefits. But in that role, so I'll say, for instance, during COVID, one of my employees had COVID and she passed away, and her husband was devastated. And not only did he lose her, he lost his mom the same week. And so I pretty much held his hand through the entire process. I even filled out all his paperwork for him, explained it to him, and all he had to do was sign. You know, I gave him a hug, and you know, I went to the funeral and gave my condolences, and he just was like, I just don't know how I would have gotten through this time without you. Like, I really appreciated that. And then in my role with as an HR director, for the last company I worked for, in that role, that was my first time being like in a complete like leadership role in HR. And so part of HR is just like trusting your gut, and like all of my mentors always told me that. So sometimes you're faking it till you make it. Like you're doing your best. You like,
and you learn from your mistake.
Let me hit Google. Let me go to my resources and check this out. And you're just doing what you think is the best, and that's why I say like the moral and ethical compass is so important. And so in that role, sometimes I would doubt myself that I was making the best decision for the company because again, you're not going to be everybody's favorite person when you're in HR. So sometimes you are the most hated or underappreciated, and they have no idea what you're doing behind the scenes.
Yeah, just to try to help everyone out. Yeah, I get that. That was going to be my next question, but you covered that perfectly.
Yeah. And so when one of the directors retired, she was giving a speech, and she, was telling, different people different things, and she started crying when she got to me, and she gave me a hug, and she said to me, I really appreciate all you did for my career development. If it wasn't for you, I wouldn't have gotten promoted. You encouraged me to go out for it. You explained to me, different things. And she was just like, when you came here, we first were like, oh, she's so corporate. Like, we don't like her. And she was just like, and then she said, but you know what, Ashley, you really classed this joint up, and you really forced us to be professionals. So, like, in that moment, I was just like, okay, I know what I'm doing.
Exactly. You know more than what you're doing. Yeah, you doing a thing. Like, if they had the team player, the award would go to you, because not only you helped the guy out, like, you literally, like you said, you held his hand throughout the whole way, and you did, and you was there for him. And I know that really means a lot to him, because, like, he lost not only his mom, but his wife too. So that could have been like
Yeah.
a really lonely time. And plus, like when people die and stuff, you have to like do all this extra like legal stuff. And it's like, who want to deal with that when they dealing with a loss, you know? So that was, like you said, very compassionate, very compassionate for that. And also the lady that gave you that nice big shout out for helping her, you know, move up, just, you know, you lit. Okay. So I got a $1 billion question that I would like to ask you, which is the money worth it?
Yes, it is.
Ooh.
Now it depends where you are in your career and what, like, the size of the company you work for and how much they compensate you. So you kind of got to shop around, but you can always look at what your role should be making. You can always Google that information, Glassdoor, whatever. It's going to tell you based on where you live how much you should be making. And one piece of advice that I would give anybody, no matter what career you're in, but HR is definitely going to tell you this. Once you find your career path, you should never stay with any company more than 2 years. If you stay more than 2 years, you're leaving money on the table. Because that next position is going to pay you more and it's going to be easier for you to level up versus staying with the same company for a long time, because they have like salary caps and they have a certain window, and you know you're going to get, you know, little merit increases and things like that, but you're never going to get the opportunity to jump $10,000, $20,000
just because you stay
with
that one company.
Exactly.
And that's
so
really
you
good
know,
to know.
Yeah, different companies I work for, the jump was, it could be anywhere from $5, $10, $20, even $30,000.
Ooh, let me get my degree. Let me see what's going on. Let me hit up this HR people, you know.
Now, if you talk to most HR people, they'll tell you they did not go to school for HR.
That's
when I was studying for my certification, my instructor was one of the rare people who actually went to school for it. She always knew she wanted to be HR because her mother was in HR, so she went to undergrad and got her master's in HR.
So she balling.
So, you know, yeah. So that's that's something you can you know look into if you're interested in it. So that would be kind of under business administration. That's like one of the branches of it, HR management.
Okay, well, thank you so much for your beautiful take on an HR director. No, thank you so much. And I
You're welcome.
Just want to thank you. And we going to send these peoples out here to make sure that they get the HR director certification. No, let me stop. No. But no. So thank you so much for joining What You Working With, and peace out.
You're welcome.
Bye.
Bye.
All right, y'all. So you heard it first. If you want to if you are organized, you have a high moral and ethical compass, and if you are someone who could keep confidential things safe, I think an HR director might be the thing for you. Bug out.
This has been a production of the Essex County College Podcast Club. Copyright 2024, all rights reserved.